is an interesting story from, I've never heard of this, N+1 Mag is a story about casual viewing. Why Netflix looks like that. And it's a very long story. We will put the link in the description, but there's a synopsis of the main takeaways from this story that I DM'd to Badger.
Yeah, I got you. You want me to
if you would read it, because the ideas that could be pulled from this story are all, I mean, each point we could discuss, but if you would, Badger, just read each of those points that I sent you, because it's worth discussion here.
So, point 1, in researching this essay, I was told by sources about 2 high-level Netflix executives who have been known to greenlight projects without reading the scripts at all.
Are you surprised?
Not from Netflix, no.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Anyways, next point.
Yeah. A common note from company executives is have this character announce what they're doing so that viewers who have this program on in the background can follow along.
Now, other people have talked about that. It's like a radio play. You don't need to watch Netflix. And that's why we've talked about it here. Like movies, you can fold your laundry to. You can do some mundane household task while Netflix is on in the background. Disney Plus is even going to have channels dedicated to that. So anyways, moving on, next point.
Number 3, keeping talent in the dark proved to be a useful negotiating tactic when the streamer reviewed a television show
renewed
a movie. Streamer renewed a television show. Yeah, that's why you see them getting canceled at like second and third seasons, and greenlighting sequels. Yeah.
Next point.
That audiences clearly prefer the films of the past has been an inconvenient fact for the streamers who tout themselves as the future of entertainment.
See? Continue.
Yeah, and their own numbers reflect that we're watching things a decade old. Netflix designed its viewing experience to be totally unintentional.
That's one thing I don't like about Netflix. The user the whole way that it functions, the UI or whatever. It's like it automatically plays a trailer when I'm just stop for a second. I just want to see what's there. I don't want to. Anyways.
Well, to that end, such sleight of hand would be illegal in any other industry.
And the final point here.
If you drive through Culver City, you will see billboards for Amazon movies everywhere. Why? Because the directors who come to the studio lot to take a meeting there to make a movie, they drive around and they go, oh, they're marketing my movie, but they are not.
I know that's a fact that they will, all the studios do this. They will actually strategically put billboards and advertising so their talent sees it. So, what do we think about these points? Any commentary? Is anyone surprised?
The not reading the script at all is interesting. I would see perusing it, but you didn't read it at all? Damn.
You could read the coverage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, script.
Dude, most of them don't read the scripts, by the way. Most of these execs.
I'll tell you that
read a one-pager.
I interviewed a producer who makes movies for Netflix, or his more popular movies go right to Netflix, and he gets notes from an algorithm that tells him, oh, hey, your movie should have a hoverboard in it, so put a hoverboard in it.
Oh, God.
So I mean, just and the result, I asked him, well, what is the result of all these notes they give you? He goes, well, my last movie was #1 for 7 weeks on Netflix.
Wow.
The other part too is Netflix actually foots the bill for the notes that they want in the project. And I learned that directly from one of my colleagues who I met with when I was down in LA. It's like they wanted to do this special effect, and they said, well, we don't have the money. And said Netflix said, no, we're paying for it. And then they did it. And that's also kind of eerie as well, because you're basically beholden to, oh, well, if Netflix is going to pay for it and I don't have to find the money, then yeah, I'm going to sacrifice the creative integrity to do that, because it's free money to go into the production. That's extra days that I can give myself, my crew, and my post-production team and all that stuff. And it's really just not beneficial to engaging an audience at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, it's this algorithm they keep relying on that basically pitches them movies, and so they'll go out and find someone who'll make that movie. I mean, clearly they didn't read the script for Rebel Moon, but I'm sure the algorithm told them.
Right.
The problem with that, though, is that these algorithms don't understand the differences. Like if you're telling a story about, it doesn't understand where human emotion comes from. It doesn't. These things are, when you're talking about elements that are in movies, like, okay, Back to the Future 2 had a hoverboard, and that was a successful movie, so let's put a hoverboard in this film. It doesn't take into consideration what the story that you're trying to tell is, or what the actors, what the emotion of the scene is supposed to be. Algorithms don't work because they're all based on previously existing things as opposed to being something that's new. No one ever got rich chasing a trend in Hollywood.
Yeah, but the scary thing is that the algorithm works. It does bring in the eyes. We can question the quality of what people are watching, but the reason Netflix relies on it is because it does work.
Well, it's because the people that work there don't know what works.
Yeah,
and that's the real problem.
It's irrelevant what people think. It's what the algorithm tells them.
Well, Netflix has actually spent almost a generation conditioning the audience to actually follow suit for that. I mean, the only outliers are basically the network shows that have not been on network for a while that got 7 to 10 seasons that people want to binge. Like that's basically it. And those types of shows can't compete with the new stuff that Netflix is doing, regardless of the algorithm.
And we also have to remember too that Netflix is a tech company. They're not a film studio. You know, their rules are very different, man. And I think Netflix is very good at what they do, even if what they do is shit. But they're good at it, right? Because people continue to subscribe, and honestly, they still lose less money than most of these studios do. So Netflix knows what they're doing, and whether we like it or not, whether it's, you know, something for the creative, probably not. But if you want just, you know, something to throw on in the background while you're doing work, or, you know, and every now and then they do have a decent show to watch. The thing is, I think Netflix is smart about how they do their business.
Yeah, I could forgive them for canceling OA.
I can speak to that. I have a friend who works for Netflix on the technical side, and he rarely ever goes into Hollywood in the main office. He works at home, meaning that the technical side of Netflix has no contact with the creative side of Netflix. They are two separate business units within the company.
They also have a brand new feature that they've been doing where in the old days you would write a one-pager coverage of the script to give to an executive. Now what they have is they have a whole team of people at Netflix who write a one-pager of coverage after they've watched the movie to feed into the algorithm. So they will write a one-pager summarizing a movie like Saving Private Ryan, and then they'll feed that into the algorithm so that they understand, oh, this is a Tom Hanks movie. Do we want to recommend Tom Hanks to this particular user, or do we want to recommend movies about World War II to this particular user? We will use a human's coverage of this movie in order to determine which it fits to each demographic. It's backwards, in my opinion.
Yeah.